Hey everyone, this is Octavia from Prelude, and we're going to quickly go through the APT38 pharmaceutical attacks slides. So first, for Intel briefing, in 2022, APT38 targeted companies in the pharmaceutical industry. The method of initial access was a combination of spear phishing and social engineering. Specifically, they targeted users with an ISO image containing a decoy PDF and a backdoored PDF reader. The reason they do this is that ISO files, when you extract the embedded files, don't propagate the mark of the web. And so trust controls that rely on mark of the web, such as Microsoft Office, won't be triggered or won't block it. Anyways, in 2022, Microsoft Office no longer executes macros originating from the internet by default. It's a new configuration. And so we've seen an uptick in this usage of container files for this purpose. So the chain operations are pretty straightforward. First, we install pack-my-payload for building the container files. Then we create an ISO image with an embedded sliver agent in it. Now you can actually use pack-my-payload to create other image format files like .image or .7zip or whatever if you want. Third, we host the image for download. And then four, we wait for the user to open that ISO image, run the included malware, and then wait for the callback. Finally, once we have that callback, the last TTP is just to queue a specified TTP for that sliver agent. Okay, so how do we use this offensively? As we just mentioned, the core idea is to create a container file that contains an initial access payload. And we're doing that to subvert mark of the web trust controls. How do we use it defensively? So the purpose really is to observe the process chain of applications mounting and extracting container files and the execution of applications therein. So if we see something like a user downloading an ISO from Outlook and then mounting it and running an executable, that might be a kind of interesting sequence of events to take a look at. Hey everyone, this is Octavia from Prelude, and this week we are looking at APT38 using spear phishing and trust control subversion techniques against pharmaceutical companies back in 2020. And this chain creates an ISO file to subvert mark of the web trust controls, so that's the core idea for this release. And the idea behind that is mark of the web is a security feature in Microsoft Windows for identifying the origin of a file, the zone in which it originates. However, that zone information is not propagated to files in some cases, such as when files are extracted from an archive or an image file. So in the case of an ISO or an image, you can embed your files in it. When you extract them, they will no longer have the mark of the web flag. And so adversaries like APT38 and APT38 use social engineering to distribute these container files and trick victims into executing them. In this case, the ISO that APT38 used contained a fake job offer PDF, along with a Trojanized PDF reader. And to keep the pretext alive, APT38 continued to share job offers with the victim following initial access. So this technique, the mark of the web trust control subversion, in general, it's important because by default, Microsoft Office no longer executes files from an untrusted zone like the internet. So if you want to phish someone or have Office, execute your file, you need to basically bypass that to achieve execution. So let's look at our chain, and we'll talk about some of the requirements. So first thing, I have the Sliver plugin installed and configured. If you're not sure how to do that, you can refer to the documentation, just search Sliver, and this will get you up and running. The chain requires the use of this plugin. And it also requires that you have compiled a Sliver agent and set a fact on your default agent here containing the path to the Sliver agent. So if I go under my profile and look at my facts, you will see I have sliver.agent.path with the path to the Sliver agent. So let's launch our chain. We'll search for pharma, and we'll kind of talk through what's happening here. So we're using a tool called Pack My Payload. What it does is it creates these container or archive files from a directory or a single file. And then we're embedding the Sliver agent along with a PDF that contains a job offer into an ISO image. Next, we host that ISO file using a Python web server, and then wait for the user to interact with it. So our user needs to input the address of our ISO server, download the file, extract it, run the PDF viewer, it'll call back. The next step here is just to wait for the Sliver agent callback. Once that's received, we then queue a TTP for the Sliver agent. And this technique we actually saw in the previous APT38 release, Crypto Spy, which if you haven't seen it, go check it out. Yeah, so let's deploy this and make sure everything's working. Okay, so over here, we are creating the file, hosting it, and now on our Windows machine, let's go to that address. Here we just downloaded joboffer.iso. If we click this, we can open it. Inside here, we have our juicy job offer. You should maybe check that out. And then also a secure PDF reader, which I guess we need to execute to open this job offer. We run that, and here I have Sliver running in debug mode, so you see the output, but you can replace this agent with whatever you want. And yeah, over here we have our callback. So ministerial fiberglass, that's our Sliver agent, has connected. And we can see that it has run a queued TTP. There you go. Okay, so that's it for the chain. Everything is working correctly. Let's talk to some of the technical points on Mark of the Web, and I'll just keep this extremely high level. There are more resources available from Outflank. They published a blog back in 2020 on how Mark of the Web works with alternate data streams or ADS. But again, the core idea really is that in ADS, in the files alternate data stream, there's a zone ID identifier with a value, and that value represents one of 5 possible trust zones, such as the localhost or the internal network or the internet. And depending on that value, security controls react accordingly, such as to block it. And it's that ADS information that is not propagated when we unarchive or mount this ISO image. So under the hood, that's how that works. If you want more details, definitely check out the work by Outflank. The blog post is extremely good, and links to that are available in the blog. So that's it for our chain, and hope you enjoyed. Catch you all next time. Bye-bye.